All right, folks, we are back. Another Tuesday morning, another Traders Talk here. Great to have all of our students joining us here this May 21st. George, Kathleen, Grant, Phil, Ramesh, Daniel, Dave, Barbara, all of our students here right now inside our live trading room. Great to have them there. Great to have all of us back on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works. Get the webcam popping up now, at least for all of us now here. So whether you're inside our live trading room or on social media, just really quick, welcome to Traders Talk. This is a 60-minute or so live workshop Q&A hosted by myself. My name is Josh Levitan. I'm Fausto's head instructor, senior instructor here at Cyber Trading University. Great to have a few of us joining us on YouTube right now. So really quick, if you're joining us on YouTube, just make sure to follow us, subscribe to us right away. Just at Cyber Trading U, popping up on the lower left, on the top left, a QR code. If you're interested at the end of this workshop, at the end of this webinar, to join us inside our live trading room, feel free to do so. Just scan that QR code right there. Now, to begin, at least, a couple of things happening right now. Markets were pushing up earlier today. Not surprising, continuing its push really back from last month where we were seeing that gap fill on the daily chart. But, Robinhood on the lower right here popping up. And for some reason, my webcam blocks it. So, this always shows inside our live trading room, at least here. But on social, I guess my ugly mug just kind of blocks that there. So Robinhood right now is a little trade we're looking to see move up. And it's been a great swing trade candidate. But we got to begin with what's on the screen here, BDRX, right? I mean, BDRX is up in basically 100% flat right now. Just broke a new high a moment ago, and it's moving live. So let's at least see what happened, why this stock made the move in which it had made, and then we'll come back to it here. So let me ask, inside our live trading room, did anyone catch this BDRX stock? Anyone catch the BDRX trade early this morning? George, Dave, Daniel, etc. There were a few stocks early this morning that I know a bunch of us were on, but I see Grant was talking about it early. Brian was looking at an iceberg order on it before. Dominic, Wendy, Lee. Okay, so a bunch of us early. I see, at least inside our trading room. Kevin, Charlene, a little bit. Okay, so let's go over at least the pre-market move first, and then from there we'll kind of come back to it now. So you'd like to think for a stock to pop as much as it did in pre-market, at least, that there would be some sort of news that would come out. Well, that's the first thing we'll check. We don't really need news in order to trade a stock, but at least with there being news out there, it could potentially lead to more eyeballs being out there on the trade over time. For anyone that sees the news report on Benzinga or Bloomberg or Fox Biz, wherever it may be. So it looks like really early in the morning, this, actually, I shouldn't say that as much. That's 8:30 in the morning. This was moving really early before that, though, 5 a.m. and even prior. So let's see, was it from even yesterday? I'll show you my Benzinga Pro screen here. So I'm looking more right at this window here. From 8:30 in the morning, phase 2 clinical trial results. Probably a bunch of words that are above my pay grade. But it's interesting that we saw so much action out on it before even 8:30. So let's at least prime this move up before the 8:30 push. And we'll be able to show you how you're able to follow these levels at least across the morning. So right away, we'll focus on 50-cent levels and whole numbers. That's typically where you're going to find big iceberg orders out there on level 3 and on level 4. Actually, as I do this here, I normally don't have the NASDAQ book viewer in each and every Traders Talk workshop I do here. So let me actually pop that up right now. We'll actually just do more of a live representation of that in just a moment. But yeah, BDRX will pop up the NASDAQ book viewer program. That's level 3. But basically, you should assume for there to be key levels off of icebergs here at $2, $2.50, $3. I think that we posted just a moment ago on this. Just do it again there, if anything. Right? So you can see generally, hey, I mean, that's the story already there. Resistance became support, resistance here, potentially becoming support now. This was your next resistance. Really, you could have just traded this whole thing on 50-cent levels and whole numbers, right? That's really it. Obviously, we're going to go further into it, though. There were a bunch of us that were following this trade early. And, if trading was so easy that you only needed to rely on just 50-cent levels and whole numbers, then you and I wouldn't be here. Let's just put it that way. So, at least let's go over the pre-market book map. We'll go over at least what actually appeared out there on the order book. And this is all before that news actually came out or posted at 8:30 in the morning. So we have a lot to actually work with here. All right, so right away, you could see at 160, there was about 58,000 shares that were out there on the buy side, on the bid. So that should create a big support level on this trade. But this wasn't the first time this order was out there. Actually, it started here. Looks like we had an order on the bid. We're talking like the crack of dawn. I think 99% of us inside our live trading room, certainly Fausto and myself, value our beauty sleep, right? And we're not beautiful, but we need it. So, we're sleeping at this time, or we're just maybe waking up. We have no need to be out there trying to kill ourselves this early. Did it pop? Yeah. But there's other trades out there that we made money on today that we'll jump into. More or less, this stock had a ladder out there on the bid at 165, then at 174-ish or so, 175. And what's interesting is that it pushed up afterwards pretty nicely, pretty well. This order pulled back though, right? It pulled back. So it didn't continue to ladder up and up and up and up. No. It ended up actually over time pulling, and then they placed it lower. That's my belief, at least. And shortly after they did that, it dragged down. It took a little while for this to try and pop higher a little bit later on. Now, though, aside from just saying that observation, well, I was going to say earlier, we had some good buying, some good volume, we'll call it, right around 240, right here, looking at the CVP and the Delta columns right here. So that was, at the time, a pretty good level that would complement 250. But looks like a lot more volume filled in elsewhere around here. So at least going into that 830 report, well, let's see. Was there any better level to work off of? Well, I'll tell you what, actually, I think that we may have posted this inside our trading room. Let me just jump back to the chat right now on this, because I think we may have posted this inside our trading room as a call out shortly after 8:30. Let's see, though. I hope I'm right with this. Yeah, I think this is right after 8:30 in the morning, folks. I wrote this out to you myself. Rich, myself, and Fausto too. We're always in the chat board. And we always say, just look at the posts that we're making, follow the call outs, the levels that we're posting, because we're not just going to type a level out just to fill in space. So there was like 35,000 out there on the bid. This was at 8:36 in the morning, but that was at the price 219, right? He wrote that out to you. And then, Rich before that, an iceberg order at 230 even. So you can even use those two prices. But more or less what I was looking at was the ladder on the bid that was kicking in. It actually started here again at 209, the price $2.09. This is what I called out, though. I was calling out the 35,000 share order on the bid at 219, basically saying, hey, it's a ladder here, I think, at this point. So, otherwise, I think I wrote that there too. Oh, no, separate trade. We got a few ladders today, mind you, but, this one, at least off the 219, it led to a pretty good squeeze afterwards. A nice little pre-market play before the market opened up. Easy to say, hey, take the money and run before 9:30. You want to make sure the stock has a chance to breathe and relax, reset itself before the market opens. And guess what? You want to give yourself a chance to breathe and relax before the market opens up. So with saying that, you want to take the money and run and just readjust. There's other trades to work off of here. We called out a few really good stocks that popped early in the morning. They pulled back shortly after, but a couple stocks you want to keep your focus on for 9:30. Now, again, you could just say that here. I don't want to just switch tangents right away, folks, but obviously that we're going to talk about GTBP at some point, and you figure that is going to be a very similar pattern here. Regardless of this news drop that came out here, you want to take the money and run before the market opens up, like at 9 o'clock, 9:10, no later than 9:15. You never, ever want to hold a pre-market trade into the open, but this is the utter worst case scenario that you could have happen, right? We'll get to this trade in just a bit, but same to be said on BDRX. Like, hell, get out on this thing. It's at 250, hitting your next major resistance. It's breaking above it a little bit. Maybe there's a chance it could try and pop on this candle, but when it's pulling back, it pulls back under that 250. Take the money and run if you're even in this trade. If you were able to jump in off that 219, if you're in just in this area somehow. And I say it that way because you don't want to take a trade in between levels. It's kind of like inception, kind of like in limbo. I want to make sure that my entries are as close to my big level as possible. But either way, by the time it touches 250 and fails to at least hold above it, just take the money and run, right? Obviously, it pulled back, and then from there, it just tanked at the open. So it pulled back down pretty nastily. Easy to say here, just going back towards my 50-cent levels and whole numbers once more, but under and over, right? I mean, I got a bunch of students. Today's already Tuesday, but I was on the horn a lot yesterday, and going over this exact pattern with students on coaching calls. So I see here Phil, Glenda, I got Matt here. Those are my 3 from yesterday. So with that, ended up seeing a nice little under and over, and a few times there too. So you'd rather have it just happen once, but once it snakes under and back over, that leads to a little bit of a slingshot. You're going with the upward momentum when it breaks over the level again. So, that's me being a stickler. That's like really something I love to see on a trade, and you get it. Then from there, of course, it makes the cleaner breakout above 250. This was just right as I was beginning a coaching call with one of my students this morning. And man, this just smashed right above resistance. This could have been a very clean entry in hindsight. Easy to say that. But, hey, the reason that's easy to say is because 250 is a level. It's a 50-cent level. It was holding it perfectly after the market opened up, so it's clearly showing its strength. So if you are watching this trade as it's under 250, it's moving up to 250, then you got to have the order set up to buy. Look to type in that limit price, 254, 253, 255, and you got to be quick with it. You got to try and have your finger on the trigger to buy the breakout. Really quick, we learned this just yesterday in phase 1, and certainly if you're Kathleen, if you're Kevin, if you're Charlene, Lawrence, Phil, probably 95% of us in our trading room, the question I'm going to ask, and the answer too. When a stock breaks above resistance and it runs off of resistance, you'd like to think that the first time it comes back to that price, it should become what? Got a hand doctor appointment tomorrow, so we'll find out more about these. But support. Yeah, absolutely. Support. Okay. So it broke above resistance. It didn't go under and over until right here. Right here could have been that potential slingshot entry here. It goes under and over. Now, the question is, though, is it going to make the same reaction that it made here or here? Hey, another quick Josh catchphrase. You get the greatest hits every Tuesday morning here at 11 o'clock Eastern. But, for Lawrence, Phil, Margaret, everyone else, when a stock breaks through a big level and you jump in, what are we getting shortly after? What should we be expecting shortly after? We got a big move, right? You want to expect a big move, and you better hope it's in your direction at least, because if it's not going to make a big move going up, it's going to make a big move just going down, right? I mean, another calamity, another disaster, catastrophe, whatever you want to call it, MTC. Look at the stock from yesterday, right? If it's not going to break any higher, look what happened to this trade. Got halted on the way up. When it reopened up, it got halted on the way down. If this isn't going to try and, flip support or resistance into support, I'm just shooting from the hip with that line. But clearly, if it's not going to make that big move in your direction, it's going to make a big move. So, that's where I say you want to make sure that you run if it's going to pull back under that level again over time. Like right now here, if you jumped in when it went under and over, right here, you're still sitting okay. You're still sitting safe. As long as it's over your level, you're safe right now. If it breaks to your level and you go break even, if you go par on the hole, as we're talking golf last month, it's not bad. It's not a bad thing whatsoever, right? Especially if you already have a little profit under you on the morning. If you have a good profit under you, that's even better. So it's just that here, all right, let's make sure it can maintain higher lows. Let's make sure it can pop again back up towards 3. Again, we need that big move shortly after. So I really don't want to just have this hold support for 20, 30 minutes coming up and waste my time. I would rather see it make this pop sooner than later here. And preferably if we got like a new ladder kicking in on the bid, like 19,000 on the bid at 240. Maybe if this could ladder up to 250 or something. I'm just kind of guessing out loud, but that would help this trade out greatly. Now, lastly, really quick, before we go into other stocks and emails, certainly from traders and messages, questions that I have to answer here coming up. What does the book map look like right now? What does the heat map look like currently? you could see that there has been a new ladder kicking in on the bid here, even from like the low twos. And they just pulled that order recently here. So this is really do or die for this trade, I feel. They pulled that order earlier on this trade. I remember they pulled it down, but that's where it dropped. So once this new order on the bid gets pulled at 210, what's going to happen next? Are we going to see that order ladder up eventually, or is it just never going to show up again? And you don't want to just sit there just waiting. You don't want to just sit there without a stop, without your seatbelt on. You never know, right? So if it's not going to show up, then you got to expect for this to pull back, right? If it's not going to make that big move off at 250 and continue, then naturally it's going to drop. And especially without there being a new order on the bid here like there has been, it's just not a good sign. This is not ideal here at this stage. So just be careful on this BDRX, right? Pop goes the weasel. There you go, live. So yeah, still, I mean, at this point right now, we were just alluding to it, but it only seems like now this is more prone to just drop more and more and more. Listen, not every stock is going to be FFIE that ran up 7,000% in just 1 week's time, right, from last week. Now, naturally, because of this type of move, you are going to get a couple crazies out there again over time. And I'm talking like, the stupid cheap stocks like MGOL. I think this had a big pop today. There was another one up just before too, like another 300% earlier today as well. Yeah, you'll see those pop up over time because once one goes, you'll get other groups of traders out there, not just us. I'm talking like real groups, companies, funds that would look to try and push up another like good opportunity. So you don't want to fall in love with these same trades over time because they're low float or normally low volume. They're high short interest, if anything. So, hey, look what happened at GameStop. This isn't even like a Christmas tree pattern, as I would semi-joke. This is like the Burj Khalifa pattern at this point, right? What is that? It's a loser. So, same thing with AMC. Same thing with SPWR. Remember that one from last week as well. Remember Tupperware Lady, right? As Fausto nicknames it. Actually, this has been fairly strong in the grand scheme, but still, it's like not a swing trade candidate. You don't want to get stuck holding on to a bag. So in terms of day trading and just looking at the 1 minute chart, even BDRX, if you look at the daily chart for BDRX, look at the last time it had news. It crashed in the same day. Look at the time before that there was news. It crashed back down and then tanked the following day. So, this is not a good stock you want to try and hope and pray and hold on. It's going to go up. It's going to go up. Maybe it does. Shit, I don't know. Maybe it does like by like 2:30, 3 o'clock. I don't know. But the way it looks right here, I wouldn't want to try and hold on hoping. I don't know the first thing about this company. Don't know anything about what they do. And regardless of that, look at the direction here. Look at the recent direction. Lower high, pulling back. So, unless if there's something big that steps in on the order book soon for this stock, I would definitely be careful. Now, there are other trades that I do want to just highlight that I do want to just touch on really quick. Let's just jump to Robinhood while I'm at it. It's going up a little bit, inch by inch. I was talking to Wayne, one of our students, just a moment ago on this stock, as well as others. Just Wayne chatted back to me at the time. There's a good chance for a breakout on the stock today, coming up soon. Robinhood's been a very good swing trade really across this whole year, but I started to take them a lot more seriously once they ended up breaking above this peak back from early April. We went over this in the phase 1 stock course just yesterday in our classes, our main curriculum. So I'm not going to really expand too much on what we covered there, but basically it's to tell you resistance looking to become support. And then from there, trying to get the next leg up. Let me ask really quick. Does anyone here know what Robinhood does? I feel the answer is yes, but let's see if everyone knows exactly to the T. Does everyone here know exactly Robinhood, who they are, what they do, etc.? Broker. Margaret, Lee, Scott, all saying broker. Correct. Absolutely. I'm not trying to toss a curveball to you in that regard. They absolutely are. They're a broker platform. They have their own trading platform, commission-free. Bang my fingers there. Commission-free. I think they even have 24-hour trading, if I'm not mistaken. That is not for the degenerative mind like myself. So I value my beauty sleep. I don't think that 24/7 trading is a good idea. They offer it either way. Did you know that Robinhood owns a shit ton of Bitcoin? Did you know that? Because if you didn't, now you do. And that's where I'll even tell you how much Bitcoin this company actually owns. For any of my students here with me, you know that, I'm into crypto. I like crypto. I've been for a long time now. I rode the downtrend. I'm riding the uptrend. It's long term for me. But actually, as a quick heads up, let me try and show you this. I did this on Chat GPT. I went on AI just recently. And I asked, hey, what are the companies that hold the most Bitcoin, the publicly traded companies that hold the most Bitcoin? MicroStrategy, MSTR, number one, zero surprise there. We knew that. Michael Saylor. Marathon. Tesla, look at that. Hut, that's one that we've been trading pretty recent here. Coinbase, 9,181 Bitcoin. If you didn't know that, look at that number. We'll actually highlight that number in a second. Riot, formerly Square here. That's a good one that we trade. Hive, obviously. That's our main horse in this race here this year. Clean Spark. But I was like, wait a second. I know Robinhood should be on this list. Like maybe AI somehow overlooked it or whatever. So I just simply asked. I'm like, okay, well, what about Robinhood? Oh, and then I did this as well for plastic container companies. Don't mind that part. That's for Tupperware. I was looking into Tupperware stuff there. But I'm like, what about Robinhood? 139,016 Bitcoin. Okay. What was the number that Coinbase had? 9,000. And what was the number that Robinhood had? Let's break out the calculator right now. What's Bitcoin trading at right now, folks? 70,000, we'll just say. $70,000 times 139,016. My iPhone can't even compute that. My iPhone can't even compute that number. It's giving me all sorts of exponential crap. So clearly, you'd like to think that Robinhood owns a lot of money within that Bitcoin. And the more that Bitcoin goes up over time, that Robinhood will benefit greatly. So count Robinhood as a Bitcoin stock. We have said this for a little while now. We've been talking about this really from the beginning of this year. I didn't realize how much Bitcoin they actually own, though, in the grand scheme compared to all these companies. That's ludicrous, right? I knew that they were actually pretty up there. That's what made me ask that question. I thought they were in the top 5 or 7, but I didn't know the number. That's insane. That's number 2. That's next to MSTR. Now they have a big crypto division on top, but it's just over time here they started to make a pretty good move. They broke out. They popped higher here and broke above the peak back in March time. And really heading into the next couple of weeks, we've been saying this since April, really 1 month ago, 1 month and a day ago, because I think the Bitcoin halving was on April 20th, if I'm not mistaken. So I was telling you hey, give it 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and then we should be getting into the thick of things with the Bitcoin bull market. I thought we'd get a sharper pullback. I thought we would get a bigger drop first. So we dropped a little bit. Then we stabilized, and now we're going back up. Right now, we're back to 70,000. So I think that all systems are a go right now across a lot of these Bitcoin stocks, the miners, Coinbase, and now Robinhood too. My logic on this is that, granted, I don't know the news on every company all the time, and there are certainly people that know it before me, of all things. But I feel like I'm a step ahead compared to the majority of the market because keep in mind, myself, Dave, Margaret, Scott, Lee, literally every one of our students inside our live trading room, we work together as a team and we're here each and every day, right? So imagine once everyone else starts figuring out this number and figuring out this news, holy shit, Robinhood's Bitcoin holdings are reported to be approximately 139,000 Bitcoin. Oh, there we go. It actually did the math for me. There you go. That's when I sent in the question. So it's probably that much more now because I think it was before the big pop to 70,000+ recently. So yeah, definitely more than $4.2 billion worth. So there we go. But it's just simply to say that if I'm relatively new to this number here, if I'm just kind of finding out this number in full right now, my belief is that I think the rest of the market will trickle in and realize this over time too. And the only issue in Robinhood for me that like leads me to be like, what if? They did just have some like relative, like they just have like a Wells notice report from the SEC. So I got to dig more into that part of it, because that led me to speculate like a bigger drop at first. This is before like the most recent push on Bitcoin. But with this break above resistance, I feel like over time, we're going to begin to at least at the minimum see support build here around this like 2050-ish, 2030-ish, and then look to try and make that better push higher. So we'll find out very soon here. Now, with that in mind, though, I want to get to a few questions that came in from email and actually private chat. Really quick for all of our students here, feel free to just shoot me over a quick email at any point, throughout this week, be able to answer any questions for you, or private chat me just throughout the trading day. I'm going to just go through my inbox right now, or coming up. This is the only private chat I'm going to actually answer here, because I just still have it here in my window. So from Ramesh, he was asking this earlier, and I told him I'd answer just between classes today. We have class later on this afternoon for all of our students, and then here right now, Traders Talk. So Ramesh says, good morning, Josh. I'm having a hard time to figure out when to enter a trade. You say under and over a level. Well, to clarify on that, just really quickly, a support level there. So like in the instance of, we'll take a look at this. So right now for Robinhood, it's pulling back. Maybe I'll even close out this day trade just to like get a few pennies and then just reassess later or coming up. If it pulls back into this area again, maybe I buy lower. But 2034, 2051, these are the two lines on my daily chart, right? So you know that Robinhood is dropping off pretty sharply here in the morning. It's dropping. So it's coming down to test this area of support for the first time. So where I say under and over, it's in relation to a support level. Now, hey, if a stock blasts right over resistance and it makes a freaking huge run off of resistance, well, then on the pullback down to that past resistance, then you want to look for support there. So, when I say under and over, just to clarify, it's in relation to looking for a support level. So that's the first thing. But I like taking trades off breakouts of resistance though too. If I have the chance to do that, I will. Actually, really quick, trade from yesterday I'll go over, because really today has been just as inactive, but really yesterday was one of the more inactive days in the last number of months. I don't really have a number in mind, but probably couple few, whatever it may be. This was like my best trade though on the morning, and I'll just move a line here for a second. Just give me a second here. Basically, to tell you, I took a trade as it broke above 17. It broke 17, and on the breakout over this line here, I just took the entry. So I'll take a breakout entry just as confidently as I would look for support on a trade, but it's all hinging on the level. It's all hinging on how easy is the level to see. Is it something that is point blank showing on level 3 and level 4? Is it a big iceberg order out there? Is it something here on the NASDAQ book viewer? If it's as large and as obvious as you can, imagine, like if this was instead of 17,000 here, if this was 170,000, that just sticks out that much more. So something like that I would gravitate to more in terms of just looking for an entry. But that is just kind of what I'll think about, like how big is big? How obvious is this level right now to me? If it's the easiest thing in the world for me to see, then I'll rightfully feel more confident with trying to take that trade. If I'm like pulling teeth out of the chart and out of the order book to try and figure out a level, probably shouldn't be trying to trade it. Probably easier money to make on other stocks. That's all. So just to kind of finish up, you had a few questions that were sent in. When do you get out? So just really quickly, I just want to mention, we mentioned entry and exit, our whole strategy with going with momentum, setting our stops, looking for targets. I could reference a class in the phase 2 stock course for you, but it's really from A to Z. Phase 1, phase 2, and then phase 3 headed by Fausto. That's where he's trading the live market and just point blank showing you. It's not even on PowerPoint. It's just in the live market. So our entire phase 1, 2, 3 curriculum will give you the best chance to see that in full. As far as where do you get out, to me, hey, very similar with my entry. Is there an obvious level just nearby that you should look for as a target? But there's more to it than just that, though. There's more to it than just that. Timing of the day. Hey, if it's 10 o'clock in the morning and you're in a stock, if you're up a lot already, then you should start thinking about the exit naturally, right? If you're up a certain amount that you're not normally up, just take the money. What are you waiting for, right? Because the more of those profits that you take, then the more confidence that you should rightfully have and build within you. But otherwise, like, hey, if we're getting close towards 10:15, 10:30, and you know from phase one class that I teach that that's reversal time, probably wouldn't want to hold on much longer, really, right? It's better to be safe than sorry. We're not trying to be perfect with the exit as much as we're trying to be perfect and pristine with the entry, right? I made this line a few weeks ago, right here in Traders Talk. I'll mention it's the same exact quote. Let's pretend you go out to your favorite restaurant, whatever your favorite restaurant is, favorite cuisine. I got sushi on my mind right now. Maybe I get sushi later. So get some pepper tuna, get all the good stuff. And actually think about some like Long Island joint here in Florida right now. So let's think like I go to Kumo Sushi in like Woodbury, New York. I think it's in. Good spot. Let's say if I get like the biggest sushi platter possible. Oh my God, it's incredible. And let's say I have like 3/5 of it. I'm like, oh my God, this is the best sushi ever. But damn, I'm full. Do I get more upset about leaving the 2/5 of that dinner on the plate more than I'm happy about eating the food that I had? Come on, right? And no one here, I feel, has ever felt that way when they've sat at a restaurant, unless if they've got banged an extra $50 because they couldn't finish their meal. If like a restaurant has some policy like that, I'm not talking that. I'm just, you know what I mean? So I don't think anyone here has ever felt that way after eating a dinner. I certainly have never felt that way. Well, let's think about it in terms of trading. Like if you leave money on the table, why are you so upset? Granted, you might say, okay, well, I could use that money, right? I want to make that money. All right, well, there's other stocks that you can make money on. There's other days that we're going to be able to trade. This is not the first and last day in which the stock market is open, right? We're in the middle of earnings season. Maybe we're just wrapping it up. But we have more companies coming out with earnings. We have new stocks that will be pumping. Really quick, just shoot from the hip question here for Laureen, Kevin, Leda, all of our students here in chat right now. Leonard, Thomas, Leroy, great to see. Phil, Gary, Andrea, Ahmad, Charles Bell, all of us here. Who here missed the GameStop pop last week? Who here missed the GameStop pop? I don't mean miss in terms of missed watching it. I mean missed it in terms of missing the actual trade and making money on it. Who here did not trade GameStop? Who here did not trade it? Who here missed GameStop? Let me know. Phil, Lawrence, Dave, Barbara, Philip M, Michael, Robert. And I'll tell you right now, I know that these are not the only people that missed it. Probably have a couple of us behind the wheel sleeping, a couple of us that just may not be as trigger happy to chat. Whatever it is, I get it. It's cool. I didn't trade it. Like the majority of us did not trade GameStop, right? Was that the only stock that day that popped? No. And clearly afterwards, were there not other stocks after GameStop that popped the following day, the day after that, the day after that, the day after today? Of course. So, this is a time where we need to reflect on that now. And on your own, this is where you need to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day on a night when you're looking at your own trades, when you're looking at Bookmap and just playing around with Bookmap and saying, okay, where do I have, resistance on a trade? Just like kind of doing a mini trader's talk to yourself there. Like I recommend, those are the points right there. Look at this drop. Interesting. CLSK just pulled back a bit, but my Robinhood going up. No, but it's just to tell you, though, at least there's other trades out there that we're going to be able to capitalize on, right? So the biggest talking point is for you to at least realize that beforehand, after the fact, each and every day, because once you do there, it's going to be easier for you to realize right now in the moment. Why do you think I get so upset when I find out, it's not often, but why do you think I get upset when like I find out a trader is like trading while they're with me in a class? Like, do you seriously not have the patience to just wait 60 minutes? Come on now. Are you really that impulsive? Are you that much of a gambler? You can't wait 60 minutes. Come on, market's not going anywhere, folks. Going to be another trade, in just a little bit tomorrow. You know what I mean? So that's where I say, at least as far as yourself, there's other trades out there. It's all right. We don't need to, just get stuck watching one stock if we're not comfortable following it, if it moved up already without you. There could be an entry, but there's always other trades. That's all. All right, so let me just finish up on Ramesh here and then just get to other questions that came in from email. Should I have a guardrail? I like that. I like how he phrased that. That's actually a great way to phrase that, Ramesh. I call it the seatbelt. So yeah, it's like a guardrail, a seatbelt. You always want to have a tight stop under you once you get into a trade. Now, that is something I definitely focus more on in a specific class in phase 2, setting stops and taking profits. That's the exact title of the class I teach. That's in phase 2. He was asking this at the market open, though, so I didn't have the chance to answer this at the time because I'm juggling things. I'm trading. I'm on the microphone trying to have a conversation with Fausto and everyone there. So question from Ramesh at the time, like, this was early, but like, XPEV, is it ready for a trade? Well, it was ready for a trade, and it was right at 9:35. I took this trade right at first as well. This is like one of my saving graces on today. XPEV, when this ended up breaking above 920, right? That was the entry. Yeah, because there were 2 icebergs on this trade here. So Fausto called this out. This was such an alley-oop. This was such a, not a layup, but this was a perfect, flawless call out from Fausto. So he called it out pretty much right as it was beginning to inch up here. XPEV wasn't really like looking that great early in the morning, but going into the market open, I think that he had shouted it out pretty early on, like within the first 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Like, look at XPEV. Now, what we like about XPEV is that it has tight spread, very liquid order book. Iceberg orders at some of these prices, completely tight penny level spread. So it has all the makings of a tradable stock. Really quick, again, for my long-time returning students, I'll just say, you don't need to be long time, but just, any of my returning students that have been with us for like 6 months, at least to a year, if not more. Anyone here ever trade the stock before, XPEV? Michael, Phil, Leda, Kathleen, Wendy, Barbara. Anyone here trade the stock before? Or at least do you know of it? Have you seen us call the stock out in the past? If you haven't traded this stock before, have you at least seen us call this one out before? A lot of us saying yes. Right now, if you're a new student, if you've only been with CTU for like a month or 3, probably not, because it's been a little while, but we've traded this stock frequently actually in the past. So we know that the characteristics of this stock are 100% tradable, tight spread, liquid order book. So it was moving up to begin after Fausto had called it out. I jump over to level 4 here, and it was already actually at this point. It was already under the level, and it tested it once already. So that's where I turned to it. And right away, I'm like, holy shit, Fausto, this already filled a 100,000 share order on the ask at 920. It already filled it here, and it pulled back. What happens if this stock can break through this level again? What happens if there's more green? What happens if it breaks above this level again? Well, that's where I'm thinking it's going to run. So as soon as it did that, I jumped in. My entry was 923. It wasn't on big size because it was right at 9:35 in the morning, and I just turned over to the trade. So when I do that, right away, I'm thinking, A, is there a big level to at least use? This is a beat red line, just from my experience, at least with using Bookmap. I've been using this for like 6 years now. This is such an incredible program. So, Bruce, find folks at Bookmap over there. This is an easy to see level at 920, about 100,000 shares. So looking at the sheer size of it right away, I know internally pretty big, and it broke above it once already. So this is just what we taught even in class yesterday. Just yesterday, I ended up teaching this exact class. In fact, so much so. How about this, folks? Free game of the day. I still got the damn PowerPoint up on my computer. So if you don't believe me, this is the exact slide I showed less than 24 hours ago, right? Let you read it. Certainly will be covering a lot more of that in phase 2. But rebreak, entry, bam, This thing flew. Now, on this trade, I ended up getting out just over 950. It was shaking around 950, and I was like right above it. I thought it was going to. So I got out. I took a little money, and I ran. I definitely should have held on a lot longer, but it was a trade that I just wanted to get a little money off the table to begin with, just to begin my morning. This made a much better run. I left so much on the table here. Well, I'll tell you what, better that than in the grand scheme, this really is your Christmas tree pattern, right? Up, peak, a little gold star at the top, right back down. So, this ended up topping off way sooner than 10:15, 10:30 reversal time. I thought there would be a good case to see support hold later on this trade. And I turned back to it right as it was beginning to come back. And, well, this could have been a good attempt. But once it breaks under and it just drops, it's like, okay, well, it's not under and over. This broke under the level here, and it stayed under. Right away when that happens. Hey, for Abdul, for Brian, for Phil, let me ask you, when a stock breaks under support, even if you're not expecting that break, like you're expecting this to hold here as support, well, hey, it didn't. This thing broke right under support. When a stock breaks under support, what does that support level then become? I like Abdul, he says, took the stars, run like hell. Definitely run like hell. Support becomes resistance, right? So over time, became resistance. Perfect. Drop, drop, drop. So that actually could have been a good setup. It just didn't do what we needed it to do. It didn't go under and over. It went under and stayed under. Simply put, right? As clean as can be, actually. So as far as placing an order out there and just waiting for it to drop down and fill your order, that is something that we need to avoid as traders. That is literally catching a falling knife, is it not? So one thing I do want to just highlight, touch upon here very quickly, if I may. I said I was going to get to it at some point. GTPP. All right. So what happens here? I mean, clearly something happens. Not every stock out there just drops 50% in 1 minute and 60 seconds. So that's where we'll take a look at Benzinga Pro. This is where I'll jump really quickly to FFIE. And although this naturally did drop back down within the last few days, this is what I was expecting to see happen out of the FFIE trade. And that is common stock offering, direct offering news that came out. So, basically this is what happened. They announced a $3.2 million direct offering. It's 740,000 shares of common stock at a price of $4.35 per share under NASDAQ rules. This happens quite often once a stock makes an enormous run up. And typically it happens with these cheap, we'll say like pharma stocks or otherwise low float, cheaper pump and dump stocks. And it's after they make a pretty extensive run. So from my experience over the years, that's the first thing I could share with you. The more any stock goes up, it's going to drop just because, but also like it could be because of this news too. Now, the scary part with this news is you don't know when this will be officialized or announced in full. It could be pre-market, it could be regular hours, it could be after hours. You don't know. There is no way to find out. Don't even ask. Don't ask Josh, hey, what time can you find? Nope. No. I have been caught in one of these before, just one. Thank God only one over my years. But I have helped others over the years where they have been in this exact situation where, they're not expecting it and just they're just in the trade. Maybe they're maybe even trying to get out just at a certain price as a target. And then just on a whim, just out of nowhere, bam, this just happens, right? Okay, so the first thing I want to mention with this type of drop is just that, and it's easy to say, but I really want everyone here to realize this. Was this anyone's fault? This drop here? Was this my fault? Was this Ramesh's fault? Was this Rich's fault? Abdul's, Danny's, Barbara's, Joe's, Ted's? No, this drop is not your fault. So just please realize that if you got caught in this, we need to build your confidence back up. because no matter what, even if it's on 100 shares, it's a drastic loss in terms of percent change. It's a drastic loss in terms of the velocity of it. You feel like, you got robbed out of nowhere. You might feel silly. You might feel stupid. I've been in those shoes, so I'm just also speaking from my own experience. But that's where we need to build your confidence back up right away. Like right away, let's get you back on the horse, not just trading instantly and just, being a gunslinger, but let's just focus on the pure X's and O's that lead a stock to just go up. The more of that we focus on, we're going to take that trauma, that emotion off a little bit. It'll just be a little bit easier to shake the emotion off if we're thinking less of that and more on anything else. I mean, hell, at the end of it, if you took a loss on this that was that large, well, at least for the current day, at least for a few hours, probably best to just step away from the damn computer, take your mind off of trading entirely. But if you are someone that is still at your desk and you want to, just at least let's get back on the horse. You want to try and get back on the horse quick. The best thing to do is just focus on the pure X's and O's of just where are my levels. Maybe you don't trade, but just focus on it. Where go on Bookmap, look to see where the iceberg orders are. Study the CVP column, the delta column if you got. At least it will take away the emotion of like, I can't believe I messed that up. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Oh my, this isn't your fault. This drop you didn't cause. I didn't cause it. It just happens. Just realize that. Now, what I can say though, this is just advice going forward for anyone in general, because this is the worst case scenario. This is like DEFCON 1. Legitimately, this is DEFCON 1 status here. So it's not just saying that this could happen, but this is the exact reason why we can't leave an order out there to just buy. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not in this trade yet and you're thinking, okay, maybe resistance can become support at like here at like 13-ish, or maybe here at like 1342. Well, it looks like it tried. Maybe it tried hovering above it for like a minute or so before it, but clearly it ended up tanking. So where I tell you, and this is where Ramesh's question came in great use, as far as like kind of looking for under and over, well, you want to look for it for support. So like in the event where if this goes into this level and then snaps right back above it, when it breaks back over the level, over the proposed support level, that would be a more opportune time to try and at least take the trade, compared to just placing the buy order out there at a low price as it's dropping into it, just hoping that support's going to hold and hoping that your order is going to get filled. So that right there is catching the falling knife. I need literally every student, every member. If you're not a student, you're a member in our room, either or. If you're a student, if you're a member, I need literally every one of us here to make sure not to do that. You're going to get squashed like a bug. And trust me, I have been there. And there are others here that have been there, and I don't need anyone to, put hand up. I don't need it as much. I know that some people got caught up in this today, and I wanted to mention two parts of it. Again, this isn't your fault as far as like when this happened, why it happened. It's not like you control the weather out there. Now you control what you put on as you step outside the door, though, right? Now, what I mean with that is you control your entry. You control getting into the trade, right? So, of course, if you're in the trade already and then just bam, that happens, that's where at least I could say, okay, if you took a clean entry and you were just trying to ride it out and then this damn thing happens, there is not much that I can do in terms of like helping you prevent yourself from being in this type of shake, because this type of shake, it's pretty rare. The shake is very rare, in fact. And not only is it rare, but it's that much more rare for you to actually be caught in it, right? So just think about that first. Think about the probability. Very low probability that someone actually gets caught up in one of these when it does happen. So that's the best thing I could try and have you focus on, aside from just saying, hey, let's go back to the material, physical things that we need to look at, Bookmap, level 3 otherwise. Alan asking here in the chat really quick, can it drop fast enough to drop past your seatbelt setting to sell? Now, really quick on that, Alan, how about this? I love that you asked this question because the scariest part about this move, you couldn't set a stop order. It's pre-market. You can't use a stop order in pre-market. Not only that, but because this actually had news, I think, oh, actually, no, even better. This sweetens my story even more. Yeah, this wasn't even halted. It wasn't even halted off of the news. And in pre-market, if it's not a news halt, then there is no halt. There is no volatility halts in pre-market. There are after the market opens up. There are not in pre-market. So this actually dropped so fast where probably during market hours, it would have gotten halted, I don't know, maybe here, maybe here. But this is pre-market. A, there's no volatility halts. So this just in 1 minute dropped 50%. And then B, otherwise, you can't even set a stop in pre-market, Alan. That's the scary part. So one thing as well I could just mention, this is like maybe simple to say to some, but then I just need to really mention it out loud. For a stock that is up 400% overnight or across 24 hours time, maybe more, you know, back on Friday last week, we'll say it was like a $3.12 stock. Yesterday morning, or this morning rather, is at 15. So yeah, it's like a 500% move from Friday's close. You know, you got to figure at some point the stock's going to drop. At some point, we're going to see lower highs, lower lows, right? Not every stock's going to be that FFIE 1,000 or not even that 7,000% gainer in just a few days, right? And look at that. That came back down too. So if you are playing this stock in pre-market, let alone where you don't have your seatbelt on, where you can't set a seatbelt, and this stock is already up 500% in just a mere one or so trading days, you got to lighten the share size up a lot. You got to really scale back on share size. I mean, I didn't take this trade. So this is where you could actually ask Josh, if you took this trade, what would you do, right? Because I'll get asked that sometimes, and I'm like point blank in the trade. I'm showing them like, hey, I've been calling it out. I'm in this trade. But like, yeah, if you were to ask me how many shares would I be trading of this thing personally, like a Josh answer, maybe 250, maybe 200 or 250, I'd say. And I say that like off of this clean breakout here. You know, if this is perking up, if I thought there was a good level to take the trade myself, I'm doing this 10 years, folks. And just because if someone has a big account size, that doesn't mean you got big brain. Put it that way, right? So you want to make sure that, especially in these conditions, you're lightening your risk. You're de-risking. If I were to have taken this trade, it would have been like 200 shares, maybe 250 the most. You don't need to trade that much shares to make decent money on this type of stock. Not only that, but folks, it's pre-market. We got a whole other 6.5 hours ahead of us here before the end of the day, right? From 9:30 to 4 o'clock is 6.5 hours worth of time. So we got a lot of action left. Why do we need to trade 1,000 shares on this? We don't. Do you have a record on level 4 when this drop happened? I definitely do. That's a good one. Yeah, I like that. We're going to finish up action in just a couple of minutes here, folks. I got to jump on to a few coaching calls throughout my day today coming up. Just give me a quick sec here because I want to make sure that I've answered all questions that may have come in. I had Ramesh just before. I'll go one more because Leonard actually yesterday sent in a question. I told him I'd get him on Traders Talk today. So I want to answer that really quick. So what is that, GTPP? Oh my God. All right. So yeah. I mean, there's not much to really show here even. You know, it's sliced right under $12.65, $12, and then all hell broke loose. There is nothing in between $12.65 and shoot $6.25 here. Now it's much below that. All right, last one here from Leonard before we finish up. And actually, this is just with an email. So I'm going to show you the picture. 1 second. It's probably as big as I can get it here for you. That's fine. So Leonard was saying I have a snapshot of how he has his book map currently set up. As discussed, he could use some help in understanding what and how to integrate. Okay, so first thing I would mention, and it might be a little tough to see this picture. Leonard sent me his screenshot from Thinkorswim. Right away, delete this on the bottom. This is the bottom here. It takes up a lot of screen space where it says like CVD buyers, CVD sellers, and this thing. I personally don't use that. There is a use to it. Bookmap will show you themselves like how to use that if you want to. My best advice is if you are trying to replicate what Fausto and Josh and Rich are showing, I would delete that. So that would be the first step. Then otherwise, though, you have, the COB column. Yeah, that's a little messed up there. I got you there. Okay, so let me break open my bookmap, Leonard, and it's basically the same instruction on the Thinkorswim platform. It's basically the same. Right click under where it says COB. Like on your screen, it would say COB. So right click under that. There should be an option to configure that column. Configure column. And then from there, you might not have all of these. That's all right. But otherwise, though, I have where it says show bid, show ask, and I don't have extended checked off or aggregate. I think you have aggregate checked off. So uncheck where it says aggregate and it'll look normal. That's the first thing I see there. CVP right here, pretty simple. Looks like yours is pretty normal. Just want to configure the column again. And I go bars only. Just, I like to have bars only there. Less tiny font for me to squint and see. I already have bad contact prescription. I got to reorder new contacts. So, just otherwise, I go bars only for that. I like to see the number in the iceberg at least. So I keep bars and numbers for COB and CVP here. All right. You got time and sales, which is great. I mean, if you like the time and sales there, then stick with that. I don't have that there because on my TradeStation time and sales window, it's clean. It looks good font. I've just grown accustomed to it. So I think that's a good idea. If you have time and sales on your Thinkorswim book map, you can actually filter this out too. So you can click max or you can click min size right there, min size, and then write 1,000. So that's actually 1,000 shares filtered out. So it's kind of like the big time in sales that I showed here, right? This filters out 1,000 shares or more. All right. So, if you want to just have any follow-ups with me on that, Leonard, definitely let me know. I'll just chat you on the side if anything. All right, really quick, got a bunch of us on YouTube. I've been chatting all throughout YouTube right here. I got Irving right now with us, Robert, John, there we go. So, hey, I hope you folks enjoyed, but hey, let me know if you have any other questions. Feel free to shoot me over a quick email on the side. If you have any other follow-ups right now, I'm going to jump onto a coaching call with one of our students here. Few of our students pretty much all throughout the remainder of the day going into the PM meeting here. But otherwise, the handle, josh@c2trading.com. That's my email address right there, at least. Otherwise, just at CyberTradingU. If you're new to our stream, new to our channel, just hit the follow, hit the subscribe button. Little notification bell up top there as well, just so you know when we're going live, when we're not. Each and every day we are, but you get that little notification there too. And then otherwise, if you wanted to take the next step, join us, join our students. Irving, Kathleen, I see here, Alan, Leonard, Carlos, Alex, Margaret, Jeff, Danny. Got 112 of us in there right now, and probably more as we rejoin going into the afternoon session. So scan that QR code if you're on YouTube and looking to join us. We look forward to having you there. And hey, again, we'll be back at least all together later on today at 2:30 Eastern for the afternoon meeting. Talk to you all then. Take care.